best historical evidence for the resurrection.
Oh, okay. Best historical evidence for the resurrection. I mean, I take kind of a cumulative approach to the resurrection, in that one of the best pieces of evidence that I think speaks to the tangibleness of the resurrection is that you and I, Mikhaila, are talking about it 2,000 years later.
Yeah.
In that there are other messianic movements in the ancient world, but I bet you couldn't name any of the individuals involved in those. And there's a reason why we're asking questions about Jesus of Nazareth and not Simon Bar Kokhba. And that's because Simon Bar Kokhba led a revolt and died, and his movement died with him. And so I think there's something unique about the movement of Jesus that requires an explanation for what's going on, because we see the disciples scared and hiding when the crucifixion event takes place. Simon, right? Peter, who's supposed to be the good guy, right? He's like Jesus's right-hand man, tells Peter, you're going to deny me. And lo and behold, that's what he does, right? Mm-hmm. When push comes to shove, Peter decides 3 times to say, I don't even know who that Jesus guy is. And the disciples, the 11 of them, because Judas has gone and hung himself, are hiding in an upper room, scared and cowering. What takes them from that to being this incredible missionary force? To be able to go back into Jerusalem on something like the day of Pentecost, proclaiming the resurrection to a group of people who very well could have seen Jesus crucified. Something happens, and I think there needs to, at minimum, be an accounting for that. And you talk to secular scholars, and they will grant, okay, the disciples had some sort of experience.
Yeah.
Right? Something motivated them to do this, because it just seems a little bit crazy. I mean, there's the adage that liars make poor martyrs, in that you will die for something you believe to be true, but something you know to be a lie, it's a lot harder to actually go to your grave to.
Yeah, you won't push yourself that far.
Yeah. So sometimes when people hear, liars-make-bad-martyrs, point to something like the suicide bombers, or those who flew the planes into the towers on 9/11.
True, yeah.
And my answer to that is that those aren't martyrs, those are murderers, A. And B, they don't actually know definitively that what they're dying for is true. They might believe it's true, but the difference between them and the disciples is that the disciples both were there when Jesus died and claimed to have seen him resurrected. Whereas the people who hijacked the planes on 9/11 weren't there when Muhammad was waging his, escapades in 7th century Arabia. So they're going off of what they believe to be true, not what they know definitively to be true objectively within their kind of own conscious experience. And so I think, there needs to be an account. I think the breadth of the historical case for the credibility of the Gospels is comprehensive enough that it gives us a base work to say that the disciples were not lying, that they believed what they were doing to be true, and that the account for that, all of the kind of alternatives to Jesus' resurrection, I think ultimately fall short. Whether we're talking about group hallucinations or, whatever that be, the disciples stealing the body and trying to make up a story, I think they're implausible based on then what transpires in the years following Jesus' actual, death.
That was great. I had known about the, if you don't believe in the lie, then you're not going to be a martyr for it. I knew that, but I hadn't connected that to, they had also seen him be crucified, which everybody basically, even secular scholars, believe. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And they know that it's costly. So a short time after Pentecost, Stephen, who's, part of this inner group, he's not one of the disciples, but he's part of this inner group. He is then proclaiming the gospel message, and then he gets stoned to death. And the disciples see this. And so that's like a warning shot across the bow.
Yeah.
They at that point know this is costly. They could lose their lives for it. That is the moment that you decide, okay, we've gone a little too far. Our friends are being killed.
Yeah.
So maybe we can slow our roll in this whole conversation on the Jesus stuff. But that's not what they do. They seem to be more empowered than ever. And so I think we see an interesting test case. It's the whole, C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity has the whole, what's referred to as the Lewisian trilemma, that Jesus is either a liar, he's a lunatic, or he's Lord. And I think that still applies today. If you evaluate what Jesus's claims actually are about himself, he's either lying through his teeth, he's either a lunatic, or he's the Lord of the universe who actually validated the claims that he made about who he is by rising from the dead. And so I think the evidence is on the side, though of course not everybody agrees, that actually happened, that Jesus predicted his own death and resurrection and then pulled it off. And I have a friend who likes to say that people who rise from the dead have more credibility and authority than people who don't rise from the dead. And so that means something.
That's good. I'm going to use that in conversations with people, unsuspecting people.
There you go.
Who aren't Christians yet. I'm going to remember that. The Stephen part is good too. Because yes, and they see other people suffer for okay, that's perfect.